You reach the get.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks for that.
Got it.
Okay.
No people. I'm going, who's CR? Virginia, Lori, and CR.
CR is Carol Roberts.
Hi, Carol.
Okay.
Okay. So, numero uno, any public comment? Nope.
I want to apologize to everybody, but I have a class tonight and need to be going out of here at 10:07. I have mandatory recertification requirement for one of my professional licenses.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, but I'm not giving up that license.
So,
I gotta get back before the polls close.
you haven't voted
You
yet?
haven't voted yet?
Yeah, I vote with the old guys, at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I voted. All right, treasurer's report and approval of expenditures. We have two motions to present to the board. The finance committee has made the recommendation that the board approve the bills of this month, with the exclusion of the payment to, okay, I remember their name, Stem Greco Construction. That will be a second.
Not at school. No, that's a separate.
Yeah.
That's a separate, that's
No, we-
anticipation.
We have,
So the motion
It
is,
just-
so 87,628 for this month, and then
Okay.
on the second motion for
yeah, we
48.
have that invoice already,
Yeah,
45,000.
45, we're not
We're
excluding that.
anticipating the second invoice
I thought we were excluding this one.
this week.
Okay, all right, sorry, folks.
So
So first, we're moving to approve the 87,600.
the,
Okay,
and 28.
thank you,
You want to
everybody.
make that motion, Glenn?
I will make that motion. Thank you
Who wants the second?
for articulating it.
I will second.
Great.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You wrote the second one, so why don't you,
We have a second motion to authorize the director to pay up to $48,000 to Greco Construction in anticipation that we are going to have a bill for project completion tomorrow, and such bill would be past 30 days by the time of our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Can you say that a little bit more concisely?
We expect to get a second bill this week for $48,000 to finish out the project.
Mhm,
Since it would be more than 30 days to the next meeting,
mhm.
we're authorizing the director to pay up to 48,000 prior to the next meeting. So we get
So
clear
the
this month.
board pre-approve authorization for the director to pay bill up to 48,000 to Greco Construction.
We expect it to be.
Tomorrow morning, they'll be done. They could invoice us tomorrow afternoon for the remainder of the grant.
So we think it'll be a final payment, application for payment.
The totals is supposed to be 92,000. We're paying 45,000 already. So we figure the second bill, the final bill will be roughly in the neighborhood of 48,000. Or less.
So that authorization could say final payment to, I leave it to you.
so we do have the motion. Did we have a second?
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, let us move on to the consent agenda. Building,
There's no admin report, right?
we can pull that.
Sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
forgot it switched.
Yeah.
I forgot it switched.
I know, I felt funny looking at it and saying, oh, wait a minute, I didn't get my report in. So I don't blame you, Brianna.
The
Um,
consent agenda would be the minutes, the building committee report, the UHLS report, and the president report, yes,
And I
Yes.
have a comment on the minutes.
with the exclusion.
So we're gonna pull the minutes out. Okay, so we have our consent agenda for building, Upper Hudson, and president's report. I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second? Okay, Kirsten. All approved?
I,
Then we can do the minutes.
okay.
Give me
Um,
1 second to get.
Oh,
I'm not gonna,
Anticipate it and pull it up.
no, I'm not gonna be able to tell you exactly how they should be changed. But in the past, we discussed putting the results of the vote in the minutes. And I'm not quite clear on what the results were. They've changed. But
The results, well, are you talking about the vote for president of the board?
no, I'm talking about the budget and,
Oh,
Candidate.
Oh, I see,
The public vote.
Hmm?
The public.
the public vote, right?
I see.
Because I know that Paul puts it in his director's report, but if a member of the public is looking for the results, the only place that they will be able to find them will be in the minutes. So we started doing that a while back, and I wouldn't expect you to necessarily know that,
Okay.
but if you can give her the results, the final results, Paul,
Okay.
so those can be added in.
I can approve the minutes with that edit.
Okay.
I'll second it.
all approved?
Aye.
Yeah.
Admin, do you want to
The
update?
director's evaluation was developed into an online questionnaire. It was considerably more complicated than anticipated. That link was sent to you all this afternoon, and you've got till our December meeting to review it, do it. Please actually try to get it before Thanksgiving so I can then go, and you'll be doing it anonymously, but please try to do it by Thanksgiving so that I can then break down any analysis, totals, comments, that kind of thing.
I
I
clicked,
really thank the library staff for wading through some of the technical hurdles we ran into.
I sent you a quick note. I don't know if you got to see it.
Nope.
I clicked it and it goes invalid dynamic link.
I just clicked it and it works now, so I think Keith, you had updated it, right?
Not since I sent it this afternoon.
Well, I just, hold on, let me try clicking it again.
Sorry, I didn't see it.
See what changed.
Mhm.
And I have not received it.
No, it looks fine.
Okay. Yeah, I forget that need to put these back on. Got it. I'll try it again and see what happened. I might have to do it here.
Just let me know if it's giving you issues and I can try to look at the settings.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And if anyone else has any problems with it when they see it, you're on the list. I think you should have gotten it.
You might have gotten hung up my spam filter perhaps.
Okay.
Subject line,
All right, if there's any problems.
subject line I can search for.
The director's
The
evaluation?
subject line is a link to eval.
Yep.
From his juno.com account. Which is JK Slusky.
Okay.
I got it.
Oh, there it is.
I received the email. It's not resolving for me on my phone. That doesn't
I
mean it doesn't.
I didn't look at it
No,
on
no,
phones
no,
at
no,
all.
I'm just saying that doesn't mean it doesn't work.
Yeah,
I just-
I'm a
Here it is.
desktop guy.
So you've got it, you've got it,
Mhm.
you've got it. got it. And Kirsten, you've found it?
I believe
Okay,
I hope I've released it from my spam.
all right.
Mhm.
So everybody tried it. If there's any problems, shout out. And Joy will work with miracles. Where's Joy?
She's
Oh, there
not.
she is, office, no, office.
No, there's Joy.
Right here.
It is.
We're so needy, Joy. Okay, good. So, okay, so by Thanksgiving, you'd want
Yes, please.
you can bring it in. Okay, that helps.
It's better to do it sooner than later.
Yeah.
Otherwise it gets down in the queue.
Mhm.
Before you eat all, turkey, if you can find a turkey. All right, next thing, our ULAN agreement. I know I put some notes in the last month's president's report about ULAN, but if you want to do some more or other discussion of it,
Well,
go for it.
the ULAN agreement is pretty much the same as it's always been. So there isn't much change. Now, what it does involve is, you did get a separate, spreadsheet. What it does involve for us is a 2% increase in our fee for 2023. Other than that, the ULAN agreement is about the same as it's always been.
And so is the fee structure. It stayed the same.
Yeah,
It's still 2%, which is really good considering there was some thought that it would go up because of the gasoline surcharge.
yeah.
In other-
Well, some people went up more than the 2%,
Yeah, but we didn't.
but not us.
Maybe next year.
The total amount went up 2% or didn't go up 2%?
Oh, it did. It didn't go up more than 2%. 2%
Oh,
has
it didn't
been
go up more
the,
than 2%.
right. 2% has been kind of the typical minimum increase. So we did not go at least this year over 2%.
So that brings our fees to 18,000 something
38,
for 2023.
is that what you're looking at?
Um,
18,399. Yep,
Yeah, here it is, I found it.
we went from
18,399, right? As our fee for Uline services, which is an incredible bargain.
yeah.
You know, just the automated system is worth about 8 times that much.
Just that.
And then, of course, daily deliveries. In this particular economic environment, I wouldn't want to negotiate with those guys myself.
John is very good at it.
Yeah.
So it's within our budget.
Hmm?
It's within our budget.
Yeah.
And Upper Hudson has adjusted the narrative a little bit. So it's not just the automated in the delivery anymore. It's the suite of services that they offer, from legal,
Well, consulting services.
consulting,
whatnot.
educational, you name it. So
Motion to approve.
we need a motion to approve.
Also, educational things.
Mhm,
And this agreement is for 2023.
mhm.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
And actually 200, yeah, that's a good question. 2023 to 2026, but I think we can do this. We need to again next year, but yes, let's do it for this. So you made the motion second?
Yes.
I second it.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. All approved?
Aye.
Done. And we'll be one of the better libraries by having it in time. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Next. Fiscal policy. We're gonna start this a little differently today. There's still gonna be room for talk. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the fiscal policy as presented. Do I have a second? Thank you. Discussion. I feel like the city council for
I'm confused.
Yeah.
Is it in here that what we're approving?
the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
the fiscal policy is in there.
Yep. All
It's after the land agreement.
Should be right after the.
Yep. those that
Oops, no. Next one. That's why this is
After that
easier.
page.
Pardon?
This is easy. I can just scroll through and then.
I'm not arguing with you.
Right.
Have you found it?
Yes.
Okay, I'll break this up. Now, I did send out today, a little memo on Marie's questions, and I hope,
I
You-
didn't see it. I won't.
okay. All right, so I will go through so your comment. Like, if you don't mind, I'll go through the comments.
I'm not the only one.
Did anyone else get it?
No, I mean, am I the only one who?
Send in any comments? Yes.
I do have one looking at this,
Okay, go.
that we fix the August 2015 dates, just update them to 2022, since parts of this were adjusted.
I assume.
You mean the
that we will
revised,
be doing
where
that.
it says revised? Actually, what Paul would like to do is those pages that are actually revised, will annotate that they were revised on Sunday on this date, if we approve,
Okay,
instead of doing it as a complete. My thought was we do it as a complete thing, but he has advised us that he would prefer to do it by page, right?
Yeah.
okay.
So are we good with that? By
Mhm.
page?
Yep.
Okay, so yes, it will be, but we haven't approved it yet, so it can't say revised. So Marie, your thought about requiring the signature of a director specifically may risk being able to pay the bills on a timely basis.
I, after the conversation at the last meeting,
Mhm.
it occurred to me that I thought that was a bigger risk than the issue of, meeting the prior approval, because there's only one director. So let's say
Mhm.
Paul's, in Europe and plans to get back by a certain day, and something happens and
Just you have this, I luckily we printed out one copy. So my other side too, so you can read it as I say. Paul and I were talking about this too. You mean, they have a process in place here. I was asked, why isn't it there? Because I don't think we have to split every hair. But the thing is, Paul has already, as director, has already approved every expenditure before it even goes out, before an expenditure is made, he's approved it.
Even little tiny.
pardon?
Even little tiny expenditures.
So that's step one in the process to begin with. Then we see all these in a packet and the board approves it. So we've already gone through 2 steps in that process. Then there's the signing of the check. The office has already worked out some methods in case for some reason Paul is not available, which is unlikely, and it's a process that has worked for many years. I think you said 30, I think probably less, because I don't know if you're a director that long, but we have all those pieces in place.
But what is that process?
Joy has his signature stamp.
We just stamp.
Ooh, I'm not sure that's a good.
It's been done. We've talked about this years ago, as a matter of fact.
But not since I've been,
I think you were here when we talked about, he had a stamp and everything's already gone to that point,
so I would, can we run that past our auditors? To see whether that. Because I was under the impression that the director signs all checks, that was.
Well,
the
normally
policy.
I do.
And normally he does.
So I mean, what you're telling me is that there's.
But we do have a,
This is a
surprise
just in
to me.
case. This is a just in case.
Right, I understand that, but I still think it's something we should run past our auditors. I don't know whether it's acceptable or not. I
well,
don't know. What's
it's
that?
widely used. And
Well, and I,
you don't think somebody actually signed all the checks that you see. I mean,
I
from
thought so.
companies and from everybody
Oh,
else.
that I've received. No, I mean, I don't sign my checks that I send out electronically. So, but I would feel more comfortable if we could run this past our auditors to make sure that that's an acceptable practice. I
Well,
don't know.
You might leave it for now and approve this thing, and then when the auditors come in, we could ask them.
We've talked to the auditors about our policy and if they've gone through it and have had any objections, any thoughts, and basically
Yeah,
they want to keep their hands are off of this. They say.
You say they've approved our policy, but have they approved our practice?
But our policy is based on practice.
But our policy says that the director signs it.
There's
If I-
nothing that
if I
said it has to
understand
be his hand is on the pen and he's inking it at the time.
Well, you know, and
We're
it
splitting hairs.
doesn't matter whether you're as- accruing that they approve of it. I'm asking because I need to be comfortable. And I need to know from them whether this is an accepted practice.
Okay.
You know that I feel that we have a very strong fiduciary responsibility
Mhm.
in making sure that that things are run
Okay.
properly. So it's not about the auditors, it's about consulting the auditors as the experts, let's say, in this. And, you know, if they say it's fine, I'll go along with that. I mean, there are other things that I maybe wasn't totally comfortable with, but they said was acceptable.
The other point there, as was just brought up, would be to make sure, and there are government statutes and regulations that approve the process. Government makes extensive use of electronic signatures. Let's just make sure we're doing it properly to that.
To that point, I just want to say, normally the checks get signed by Paul and the treasurer, so there's already a live stamp. And if in the very, very, very rare case where Paul is unable to do it, I normally ask him and then list, these are the things that I'm putting your stamp on. Is that okay? Which has already been seen by the treasurer. So I just wanted to also throw that out there.
Treasurer board, you name it. I have no problem with that method, to be honest, so.
This would be a really dumb question, but does Paul absolutely have to sign the check, or is a signature just from one person sufficient? Like if the treasurer is signing, it has to be Paul too?
Two signatures.
Usually two. Yeah.
Well, with a stamp of Paul's, if Paul wasn't available, could we just have the president of the board and the treasurer sign instead? And then we circumvent the whole stamp issue?
Joy, any thoughts on that?
I'm
Thoughts?
fine either way, whatever you all decide.
You've already approved the check.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, decide whatever you want. I mean, I don't care who signs it.
But
So-
Maria, if your concern is with having somebody stamp, but if we can circumvent that concern and just have two live signatures, would that make you feel, is that the concern that it's
Well,
stamped?
Well, I didn't realize that it was stamped, so.
Right.
Well, it's very rare that happens, and very rare. And also usually, like I said, there's already a live signature, so you have all approved it, and the treasurer has actually reviewed everything and actually put their live stamp on there. So it's not like I'm just stamping weird checks everywhere.
Yeah,
Just letting you know that.
it's not like you haven't already approved those checks.
For me, I'm familiar with the process, and I've heard of it done before, and I don't have concerns with a stamp versus a wet signature. But if our policy says that the director shall stamp, then we should stick with the policy. If we need to have another backup strategy, we should update our policy to reflect what that backup system is, whether it's a president or another fiduciary, or that Paul may authorize in writing or email to have his stamp applied by someone else. I'm okay with that too, but I think if our policy says the director should sign it, that's what we should do, unless we change our policy. I'm open to changing our policy.
We're trying to get this passed. It's like our fourth month on this.
Okay.
To me, it's rather frustrating that, all these things come up. It's
I
When they do.
understand.
And
Yeah.
they come up through the discussion. As I said, it never even occurred to me until what Keith questioned, whether we would not be able to pay a bill because of a different issue. And I said, wait a minute, this seems like the even worse scenario, more likely scenario. And yes, I brought it up because not knowing that there was a signature stamp, that perhaps an alternative should be devised so that we wouldn't run into that issue. But now that I've heard that there's a signature, I would like to hear whether the auditors, where they stand on it.
I think we need a motion somewhere.
We did. We have a motion to approve it as written. But why don't you go through your other questions and then I'll go back and get some idea of where people stand.
Okay,
I don't have a printed copy anymore. You have mine.
let me give this back to you. I will look at it on my phone, or we could make a copy. The copier is right there.
We're trying not to kill too many trees.
Well, oh, I have a copy of this.
And I sent it to everybody. So
Yeah, I don't have a copy of what Evelyn sent out.
I have it pulled up if you would like me to read it.
Read.
It's a little easier for me to hear. So the answer to B is yes, they would.
So the question is, does this mean, if neither the board president or president is available to co-sign checks, the duty shall fall to the vice president or the secretary. The comment was, does this mean that the officers will all have authorized signatures on file? And the response was, yes, that would be the case. Her next comment, you can see here, third comment was on page 5 of the middle section, numbering is not consecutive. The response is yes, lost in translation as feared. I think I wrote that in my cover for sending it. Talk to Joy, should be able to fix once full policy is approved.
Yep. Oh,
Yep. Bless your heart. So up to D. Each member of the Board of Trustees shall annually sign a statement attesting to the fact that they currently have no conflict of interest and they will avoid potential conflicts of interest. That's part of the Board of Trustees and Library Employee Conflict of Interest Policy on page 15. Marie's comment was at the organizational meeting, and the response is October's organizational meeting might be the best time, but does not need to be then. Doesn't have to be at then. And the last thing is documentation detailing the goods and services purchased must be submitted before payment can be approved. No personal charges are allowed, which is credit card policy, page 16. Her comment is, does this contradict the practice of paying for things for reimbursement by staff? And the response is documentation is required for all transactions. So those were the comments and responses that you were sent today. Maria, it was only sent today, but I didn't get your comments until Sunday
No,
night.
no, I didn't
And then had to,
get them before I stopped working on it, so I didn't see them.
so I took Monday to kind of go through this and Tuesday today to kind of write up this memo.
As far as the last one goes,
Mhm.
and I had asked the auditors about this, and they said it was okay because of the way that it was handled, but since it would seem to be a contradiction, I wanted to bring it up.
So those are your questions.
The one about the organizational meeting, I
Mhm.
think it would be good to have it in the policy, when that should occur, because
I'm going back. I'm trying to think. I try to match it to the one for the director and business manager, and that is not, I believe. And where is that? Anti-fraud,
I just think that it's more likely to happen.
page 6, number
if it is
9.
specified.
Okay, the director and business manager shall sign a statement. See the one, number 9, 6-9? Page 6, number 9, the one that you were so very concerned about not having been on the revision sheets last month? And it's always been in there. There's
Well, I
no,
wasn't concerned that, I was just saying that it was in the policy and it should be practiced. That's all.
I think you were questioning whether or not it was there, but that's beside the point.
Because I was reacting to it being in there.
Anyways, I'm trying to match the one for the board to that. It doesn't specify the time in the other one. I would prefer not having to specify it. I think it can be, but at this point, to be honest, purposely didn't put it in October.
Since it hasn't been done for a couple of years, I think it would be better to have the time specified when it should be done, so that it does occur.
Well, then if you're saying that, we would not even do one until next October. So
Well, I don't know that we will. So
We actually could just do it in December using the language that's in here.
Or January.
So
Just to get it clear for the 2022-23 term, we could do that in December.
we can do that. So I would
as long
prefer,
as it's specified when it occurs, so that
I would prefer not specifying that, to be honest.
How about we say by December? And then if it happens earlier, that would be okay. But at least it happens annually. At least we know that it doesn't roll over and roll over and roll over.
Well, I think that it does say annually. It does say annually.
Mhm.
I think at a certain point when you get. I mean, we would have to go this whole thing and go specifically by then, specific. At a certain point, there's,
but it hasn't been done annually. That hasn't worked.
well, this is why we're working on this. There are other things that might not have been done, but now that we've been really immersing ourselves in this policy, we can really do some more scanning to make sure that everything is adhered to. So now that we know this, we will do this annually. And again, I don't disagree that October, it does seem to fit into what we're doing in October. But I would prefer not having to specify that, because then we're going to go through and start really splitting hairs.
And then I'm sorry, I didn't think of this earlier, but the specification of the routine or recurring bills that we give prior approval to.
I know that says October.
And occurring at the organizational meeting. I think that new board members might not have had sufficient experience to be comfortable doing that. And perhaps that would be better done in December or January.
I know you had suggested the October. What do you think?
Where I'm familiar with it, if other folks have done it at their organizational meetings. If there's another time that works, we can do it, or I would be open to that. And obviously, throughout the course of a year, you're gonna modify that list. For instance, in calendar 2023, we would be modifying that list already because of our entry into the New York State retirement system. I'm not sure how much folks are going to catch on between the October organizational meeting and the second week of January.
Well, still, they would have had a few months of, looking at the bills and getting a feeling for it. I know when I first started doing it, it was pretty foreign to me. And to ask people to do it their first month before they really had any experience, I think is not as effective as waiting a couple of months so that they could at least have gotten some experience. But anyway, those are my comments.
Are there any more? Anyone else? Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. We're not going to go back and say requiring the signature is one of the stumbling blocks. Do we leave it as said, all disbursement checks will be require the signature of the director as well as the president or treasurer of the board? Is that going to be a stumbling block to get approval? Yes or no? Keith? Okay, Keith?
I'd be inclined to do the approval now and pursue the line of inquiry when we sit with auditors.
Well, we don't have to wait until then. We can call and just ask them.
Yeah, I have a pretty good feeling how they're going to say what they're going to say, but Kirsten?
I would be willing to approve the motion as it stands.
Okay.
So
I comment one thing, some of our policy procedure, it's been delayed by other contingencies and extingencies for the last couple of years. But it doesn't mean we only look at this stuff every 3 years or 5 years.
No.
Some of these are living documents, and now that as we catch up and clean up, it becomes much easier to ask questions, get answers, and make adjustments.
well, the thing I'm concerned about is that it's on record now
Yeah.
that we are aware
Yeah.
that there's a practice that's happening that's not consistent with our policy. And if we approve this as it currently stands, we are on the hook for that.
But you see, it's your definition of signature.
No problem. No, I'm okay with the stamp. That's not,
Yeah,
it's not, it's the director's signature.
Yeah.
And
It's not my signature. It's not my signature.
yeah,
It's not
so
yours.
if
Nobody-
someone else is applying my stamp on
Yeah.
something, that is not my signature. Without my direct explicit authorization.
Oh, okay, but that has always been given. So,
And I want to make sure that I haven't heard that said.
okay.
I hadn't heard that said. So
I think we heard that from Joy, that she doesn't do it without his signature.
Yes, I don't put any stamps of Paul's signature unless specifically I've talked to him about it. Even, yeah, or,
So it's the talking about that has me concerned. And I have no concerns with you and Paul and what you're saying, but if someone were to come back and try and track this down through, if you have an email on it, then I'm comfortable. If
Mhm.
you're talking about it, I'm worried.
Yeah, and I can definitely do that too, is where I verbally tell him and also,
Get it in writing,
yeah, I can do that.
electronic writing.
See, if you have
Okay.
it, if you have it in writing and
Yes.
or an email, I'm completely
Got
okay
it.
with it.
Yep, as long as we have a paper trail, I totally understand.
Okay, then we can work that out. So that's one, you authorize, that's not. The fact that the annual statement, are we okay? Where do people stand on it, not saying October, but annually?
Well,
Don't get-
why don't we make it as someone suggested by annually by December?
By December.
Was that you, Keith, who suggested it?
Yep.
By end of year? So we want,
By December of
by the December,
each,
by the December meeting. And that way, if we
Yes.
haven't done it yet, then we can do it at the
Mhm,
December
yeah.
meeting.
By December meeting. You know, someone's gonna say, what if we don't meet in December? What if something happens? You know what I mean? There's this
But
point that I know,
So you try for it to get it done sooner, but
I know, I'm getting ready for an advanced,
as we also said, by in reference to when we approve the budget.
okay. So, the last comment about taking out approving I'll call it the routine bills, because we're not putting that in the motion right now. Are people okay with October being removed?
To,
So just say the board will approve annually.
I think that's better.
Is that okay?
yeah,
Yeah, no, 'cause
Okay, all right. So with those edits, we have a motion, we have it second. I'll ask, we've called the question. All in favor?
right,
Aye. Any nays?
I'm thinking I will contact the auditors to get a response on this.
Why don't
and-
we ask Joy to do
propose-
that,
and
please?
Well, I feel more comfortable.
well, the other
Being
part
able to
is
talk
we
with
have, we don't have a contract at the moment, we had our audit and
Well, we said we'd go 3 years with them.
Well, we contract with them yearly. We're hoping to do it for 3, actually, more than that. We did talk to the auditors through Joy. Joy is the person with the contact. The questions we wanted to have answered by the auditor from our last meeting. Joy took care of all asking them those questions, and then we got the response, which is why I'm thinking I know what their answer is going to be.
And that's fine.
And everything was incorporated.
That's fine. I just feel that it better meets my fiduciary responsibility if I check to make sure.
Well, I guess I would put it this way. There's no way I can stop it even from making a phone call, but
Right, yeah.
I would like
And
things.
they have said that we're welcome to. do that.
Exactly.
So I have no problem doing that. And if it's not as you expect, then I'll come back and suggest that we modify it.
So how do you
So,
vote
yes.
though?
I
You're an
just-
aye? Okay.
You voted no or you abstained?
No, I go to Jess.
You voted yes.
Yes. So I think we got everybody voting yes.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
thank you for working through that process.
I'm sorry, what?
Thank you for working through that process.
Thank you so much for taking part.
It's only 4 months.
I know, it's just,
Well, it's a 17-page document.
it should be 16, it will be fixed.
Policy.
It is 16 pages. I looked at page 17, it's like one line over too, but I want to thank Ian, our head of adult services, for really taking care of all the formatting as it stands. I know things got messed up. I was afraid it would when it got sent out, but Ian was so patient, I cannot tell you, and so helpful. It would not be done without him. So let's see, trustee education. I think this is as good a time as any to talk about it because it starts January 1, 2023. Trustees are now required to have 2 hours of continuing ed
Annually?
annually. Yes. I did include the frequently asked questions and did some background so you know where those questions come from, who's can't come up with this. This is a summary basically of the legislation, plus all the ways that DLD, Division of Library Development, and all of the people that need to make decisions on how it's going to be processed. So it talks about where we can get our education. I will make special note of where it says which trustee education providers are pre-approved at the state level. Certainly Upper Hudson is. The Empire State Library Network, what people may or may not know, is the Capital District Library Council, which also covers academic, medical, etc. libraries in our area. CDLC is our Capital District version of it. They also provide some incredible educational opportunities. We used to be, as trustees, we used to be covered under our institutional membership as members, but they did away with that a few years ago. So personally, I joined as a personal member. There is a special retiree. I wrote this down and then I didn't print it out. I think the basic membership is $15. I think the lowest they do is $10. It's worth every penny. So far, their programming throughout, because of my membership, I'll say for me, my membership in CDLC gets me into so many different Eslin programming throughout the state and at no cost. They're incredible programs. They're the ones that put on Ask the Lawyer, which is from another one of the Eslin participants. Now they have Ask the Archivist, and they're doing another Ask the at some point. And of course, we have NYLA, who just had its conference, and then they do some other things. Hopefully in spring, they'll do another spring thing. NYLA has changed some of their rules. I don't know, to be honest, they've been very busy with conference, so I haven't been able to get the information on whether or not as trustees, we are still covered under our institutional membership.
Supposed to be.
We're supposed to be, but there was a couple little glitches, and I know it used to be that.
There's been a lot of glitches.
I'm not gonna go there. Not gonna go there. Upper Hudson used to be able to buy all its member libraries at a discounted rate, its membership, but they can't do that, so we did pay for our own.
A lot of the opportunities though are no cost.
Yep.
From NYLA.
So Spring on the Hill was definitely no cost. NYLA conference is a bargain for trustees and retirees. Now, whether or not some of these institutions are going to change their policy on payments, I don't know. Now that so many more people are going to be required and will be taking advantage of the programs. One of these days, I think next week, I'll head over to CDLC and or talk to them about what they're going to do, if they have any plans or not to start charging. But there's education out there. I will note, and this is something that we'll have to, it is in our finance policy about costs. So you'll see on the last page. Obviously, the state is trying to make this a trusteeship accessible to anybody, someone who may not be able to afford programming when it's not at a low cost. So the trustees can charge to the library if there's a board approved policy, which we will need to put into place. So yes, this goes through the process as best it can. Luckily, there are a lot of tools from spreadsheets on down for the reporting, because there will be reporting necessary, and we'll put that all into place so everybody knows exactly what you need to do. But I wanted to make sure everybody was really aware and had some time to digest this. Too bad we've all taken core training, because that would count. But taking it over again just for fun, I think is cheating. Anyways, are there any questions that I might be able to answer at this point?
No.
Anybody else? Okay.
When will we
Yes.
be getting the reporting material?
before, how about by January 1st?
Okay,
So you'll have that, the ideas of how to report.
that would be good.
Yep, and then eventually it's going to be, and I don't think they've worked this out, how it's going to go into the annual report that we have to submit. But
It already does, doesn't it? Paul?
Yeah, but
Not like
only a
this.
yes or no sort of question, did you,
Yeah.
they might want a little more detail coming in the next annual
they're going to
report.
want more detail.
So we need to beef that up a bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as we have it to do it prospectively, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
retrospectively.
But luckily we have a year. Don't forget, this is annual for us, even though our annual report goes in. I don't even know if it's going to be on this year's. Or
Oh,
what
yeah,
they
I
do
don't know if
submit,
they'll ever get
or
to
the one-
it,
but we
yeah.
have a whole year to do 2 hours.
And will the library take any initiative in providing training?
We can alert you to opportunities. That are provided by the system, they're provided by NILA,
Yep.
they're provided by DLT.
They're not pre-approved. just so you know.
Um,
Member libraries are not pre-approved.
Well, but the library could contract with an approved provider.
I don't think it's particularly necessary. I think there's an awful lot, especially, since the pandemic, there's a lot more available online, that you could sign up for.
And in a sense, we have contracted with at least 2 of them because we are, again, an institutional member of CDLC, even though. And at NILA. So there's 2 right there. Does that, well, I'll just do it. So if anyone has any questions after, once absorbed between now and even January, let me know, and I'll do my best to get any other. I am going to ask tomorrow if anyone's come up with a policy or whatever and how they're all handling this too. I will be talking with the brethren. All right. Annual appeal. You want to talk about
The
that?
annual appeal. I'm sort of stalled on the annual appeal. Maybe it's writer's block, I don't know. I've made a couple of stabs here about it. I don't know, one of the things I thought maybe we might want to consider and discuss, first of all, it has become not necessary to get the annual appeal out at the end of the year for tax purposes because of the changes in the tax code. I know many organizations still shoot for November and December. And we still could do that if I can come up with some good wording. On the other hand, it's interesting because, as I said before, fundraising as a public library is somewhat questionable. And so this year I was at NILA and attended the lawyers session. And that question was raised. Schofield, who's with Wakeman and had said that a couple of years ago, that question was posed to the state controller, the state controller's office. Should public libraries be engaged in fundraising? And he said the answer was no. Not that it's a regulation, not that it's a law, but it is the opinion of the New York State Controller's Office. I think, it's difficult. I mean, we just had a budget election for, over 16% increase in the library tax, which is what we needed. And we asked for what we needed. But, I guess the issue is, shouldn't we emphasize that that's how libraries are funded? And I know that in your handbook, and I don't know if it's in your handbook for trustees, but I know that Bill Nichols is opposed to fundraising for public libraries as well. So it's kind of a interesting question. The other part of it, and I know some libraries that do some fundraising generally do it through either a friends group or a foundation. So that's a separate 501c3. We are not a 501c3. And so that makes fundraising a bit more questionable. Can it be questioned by, we don't file a 1099, we are not a 501c3. Would this be a problem with our federal status? That I don't know. So possibly we might want to discuss going through our friends group and, you know, setting up some sort of agreement whereby we would kind of continue to control the content, although it would be done through the friends group and through their 501c3. Anyway,
Foundation.
the foundation doesn't do things.
Can't do that either. Gotcha. So just the front, gotcha.
They are not an effective organization.
Gotcha.
And they have said they'll do the big touch, not, smaller thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
May I ask, is it allowable for the director or a senior member of staff from the library to be on the board or on the administration of the Friends group? Or is there a required bright line separating those two?
No, there's nothing particularly that separates. As a matter of fact, when the Friends do meet, as a matter of fact, they're meeting November 15th.
Yep.
And they set the meeting so that I could be there and Evelyn could be there.
But we're not on the board.
Yeah,
There
we're not-
there is some lines.
Yeah.
I can't remember where and what I read, but there's supposed to be a separation between your friends board and your, I'm not
I
sure
think
about
we would
staff.
have- We
That's
did
about
that.
staff.
Yeah, I'm not sure about staff.
If we did fundraising that way, I think we would have to set up an agreement with the Friends
Yeah.
that
an MOA.
spells out a lot of things.
Yes, yes,
Particularly content. I
Yeah,
would worry
yeah,
about
yeah.
content
I-
of, you know,
I concur.
yeah,
You know, we want to make sure that they're speaking in unison,
yeah.
that there's a vision that is being shared. That's not just,
And, we don't, even staff, whether or not it's appropriate to join their board, they are still very open to discussion and hearing things from staff, from board, from administration.
and I have the impression that they seem to be
Yeah,
open to
they
that.
are.
I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if that might be help to formalize that agreement that Paul's.
And there's
Oh, yeah, that would be
a number
but
of
not
things
board.
that would have to be worked out, not only the content, I think, of appeals, but also, collection of funds.
And
How does that
disbursements.
work exactly?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
there's a lot.
This is one of the things that came up with the foundation years ago. Years ago, the foundation actually did fundraising. But they also kept a lot of the funds. And so you need to have some sort of agreement as to how this, what's the purpose of this and,
Annual
how
appeal,
things are done.
Sure. Okay, APL, Albany Public Library, their foundation and their friends have merged. So it's
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I was
I thought that was
I-
interesting when they did it.
I was surprised that there were separate organizations that did that for this library. I could understand that some might call themselves foundations, and others might call themselves friends, but that there'd be both for one organization. So it's interesting to hear Big Touch versus the,
Well, that's what they say.
yeah,
I'll put it that way. I'm being diplomatic, because we have to work with them a lot.
I understand, and we thank them for all they do.
Yes, they
and
do.
I just wasn't sure what the distinctions were, so I'm learning, so thank you.
Well, at one time, there was a lawyer who was part of the foundation. And I understand he was quite effective in enticing clients to make the foundation part of the will.
That is a big touch.
Yes, as we've seen from some of the that we've received. So would the Friends have access to our patron list?
Well, yeah, that would be something that we would explore. We have a regular list of donors that we use, a couple thousand people on that list.
And they have that,
And
right?
then we send out, yeah, they
have that.
already have that. Now, we send out, for example, emails to our patron list as well. How that's gonna work, I don't know at this point.
And I also wondered why you said that it isn't necessary to reach out to potential donors before the end of the year anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they changed the
Tax
tax
code.
code.
That's true, but
You don't get credit for hardly anything, unless it's really the big bucks.
right.
If somebody wants to drop 100,000 on it,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I would say,
the
you better do that
big
before the end of the
income
year.
folks probably, you know, still have the incentive, and even with the little guy, there's still that, unless it's changed since this past year, that the small donation you're
Well,
allowed
that's
to
what I
make
say,
for
it's been
$300.
customary to do it that way,
So
at the end of the year, but, if I judge by my mail, looks like people are doing that all year long. So, I don't know.
We could come up with a new event at some point if we wanted to.
Well,
like
an event,
spring.
that's another thing that you could do
I don't mean it-
under the auspices of either the Friends or the Foundation.
What was there, for the annual appeal, we could find some other, I didn't want to use the word holiday or rationale, but welcome spring annual appeal. I don't know, it's just an idea.
An event might raise more money than the annual letter. But it takes a lot of planning and a lot of work, and usually Friends groups want to do stuff.
Yep. We think they're
And
not the cookie ladies.
maybe we need to harness that energy.
So in the
What do you need
past,
from the board on this?
This is, at this point, mostly informational. We traditionally send out an annual appeal. It's not actually ready. I'm not convinced that it's essential to get it out before the end of the year at this point. I mean, as a board, you could say, by gosh, you better get that thing out.
Do you want to present a plan or a strategy, how you might like to see this approached and for feedback or?
I don't have a full-blown plan, but I think I would,
I don't mean right now. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I mean, would you like to come back? to-
yes, I would need to do that. Yes, definitely.
So though I'm hearing, considering it's well, mid-November, that it's probably not going to be going out as an annual appeal before the holidays, the traditional timing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're okay with that?
I have another question. In the past, you've voiced concern about losing that fundraising money. Are you no longer concerned with that?
Well, I'm always concerned with money, first of all. And this is why I'm saying that you know, it would be. What I'd like to do is come up with a plan, that changes this and puts it under the auspices of the Friends group. Perhaps, I know I can't go to the foundation, it just isn't there. So we have, you know.
Have you talked with the Friends?
I will. I
Ted,
don't know. I'm
at
just
the
bringing this up.
I
Which
just
us
don't-
first.
Well, this is kind of
Right,
new.
I just don't know, you know.
Yeah, no, this is kind of new. I have not brought it up to the Friends. But I will, and to see what kind of a reaction we get. As I said, they're almost always looking for stuff to do. I mean, and this is like something maybe that would work well.
I'm open to that concept, if that's something you want to broach with them and develop further, I'm open to that.
Everybody? Same? Okay, so,
proceed.
all right, so open to that and open to the fact that we won't do one a year yet.
We're close to.
Okay, all right,
Anyway, okay.
so we'll come up with
Um,
discussion. Your report.
The report, well, I
Do you wanna
have
do
scheduled, we
staff
have
first?
scheduled.
You want to do staff first before?
Oh, staff, okay, we
Yeah.
need to approve new staff. We have hired library assistants to fill in the huge gaps. We have hired Fatima Hussein for Lansingburn, part-time. Ernst van der Bosch for the main library. We're actually been working a little bit both main library and Lansingburg. Allison Lacroix Lindsay for the main library and Henry Cooley for the main library. And we need approval on all that.
I love the way you, to approve the appointment of.
For new part-time library assistants, Fatima Hussein, Ernst van den Bosch, Allison Lockrow Lindsay, and Henry Cooley.
I'm, sorry, you beat me.
After
Ernst
Second.
is fluent in Dutch in case we need it.
And he's very nice.
So introduce him to
All
the
right,
treasurer.
Yeah,
we have the motion, the second, all in approval?
Hi.
Okay. All right, now you can go on.
okay, let me bring up, we are planning an in-service for the staff on January 27th, it's a Friday, which was gonna be an all-day session. And the concentration is really on safety, as well as the kinds of incidents that we see fairly often in an urban library. So we have, this is basically the result of a study, the Urban Library Trauma Study, which points out some of the many, many things that urban libraries are familiar with in dealing with the variety of people that we deal with. We do have a process here of reporting these events, and my incident file is about that big. So there's actually 2 more incidents today. So what we're trying to do is work with the staff, and we have a lot of new staff. Almost half of our staff or more is new. We want to cover some of the safety things that are already in place. Things like the code of conduct, things like how to deal with this and that sort of thing, and what to do and how to report, and you know, some of the things that we have been doing, but also explore perhaps some new ways to deal with people who are obviously troubled, and perhaps ways to de-escalate some of these incidents that we come into contact with. So we are scheduling this for January 27th. The library would have to close for that full day. So we would need to acknowledge.
The
that.
entire library, both Grant, Maine and Berg.
Yeah.
Are there any other expenditures or costs you need approval for?
Oh, no. No. I would like, yeah, you're right. I would like to mention that I had a long conversation with Margie, Maynard, the director of the Kingston Library. And I, mainly because I was amazed that they passed a $14 million bond issue in Kingston, which is only 1/2 the size of Troy. And not substantially better off in Troy. The average household income is fairly comparable. And so I guess, yeah, my first question was, how did you do that? But they've been working on it for a long time. They've been working with, off and on, Roland Butler Mays for almost 10 years.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's taken them quite a while. And they did do an awful lot of work in spreading the you know, the plan around and the news around and the reason for it. And she had said they had been at every possible community event in the last few years, just to educate the community. And apparently they did a real good job. Their bond passed by 75% yes and 25% no. So that's a substantial support, you know, for that. She indicated that their bond will be handled by the city of Kingston. And it's a 25-year bond, not a 30-year bond.
Did you say what the annual tax impact was for,
What's that?
did she give you any indication what the annual tax impact was for a standard household?
We didn't talk numbers, just by what our experience would be. I mean, it's got a double their tax, at least. And that's what, you know, the impact here would be. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Be interesting to talk further.
yeah, I didn't talk specifically about money, but I tell you, she did say, and their board, they have a 9-member board, and their board was unanimous in their approval of the project. You know, it took a while before they got to that point, but they were all behind it. And she did mention that, you know, a number of their board would be happy to talk, you know, to our board about their experience and that sort of thing. And I thought that'd be a great educational process. I mean, for everybody. I mean, I don't know everything I need to know on this whole process either. So I could explore how we set something like that up, and see. They do have one, I think they have an architect on their board, as well, so. So that was very interesting discussion.
They also have marketing people on their board and a lawyer on their board and a banker on their board.
I don't know, we didn't get into detail about everybody's, you know,
Yeah.
but,
It'd be interesting, I'd be interested in speaking with them if that is possible to do.
yeah, but they did indicate one board member had a certain amount of expertise in this renovation process. I assumed they was either engineer or architect. The other thing, which is not in my director's report, is it looks like we got approval for the ARPA grant.
Yeah,
But initially, we talked in very general ways. So I suppose we need to sit down and figure out exactly what the heck we're doing.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Happy to get together at
Yeah.
your convenience and talk about next steps.
Just to get an idea of what the whole procedure is gonna be.
the city's working out theirs to figure out the mechanics of actually dispersing it too.
Well, they've managed to disperse quite a bit of ARPA funds, so.
Yeah. We did the easy ones first. Okay,
Okay, I think
All right.
that's it.
all right. Old and new business.
I did want to bring to the table that the building committee has been talking about long-range planning. And we are not ready to make final recommendations yet, but we have been having very productive and fruitful conversations and would hope that in the next month or two, we could schedule a little bit of time in the agenda for this meeting to talk about that in greater detail.
You hope to share recommendations at that point or just information?
I would say,
Semantics thing for that. And
it's an excellent question. I would say recommendations and discussion for next steps, which, or information for next steps, because some of these things would require further investigation.
Gotcha.
Is that fair to say?
You want to say any more? I don't want to cut you off for now.
I think I want to let people know that there will be discussion.
Okay,
Rather than launch into discussion when people aren't.
Okay. all right. Anybody else? Because, nope, okay. So we wanted to talk about those laptops.
Okay.
Are people, how do people feel about purchasing laptops? And how many? Would it be enough for each of us? One for each? All seven?
Could be.
So you're not jealous? Unless someone says, I'm gonna bring mine and that's it.
I'll bring mine, I
Okay,
found it there.
so they were down to 6. Sorry, I'm being a little facetious at this point.
Yeah, I've already, I'm just testing this one. I've got a couple others.
Oh, you got them in the back room.
That would mean only 5.
Okay,
That we need to, and they would be like the Chromebook style.
Yep.
Either,
Sort of like a dumb terminal.
what's that? Yeah,
please
yeah.
don't insult my laptop.
You can use it, you can use it that way, but in other words, I'm just into the packet, that
Oh,
was sent out. That's all I've got up here.
email.
You can, obviously it connects to the internet, so you can do whatever in that case. I don't know how much, actual work you can do on these things. I don't think you can use Excel or probably some of the other
Well, if it's a Chromebook,
bigger.
if it's a
program.
Chromebook, you have Google Sheets.
Yeah, right.
Yep, Google has it. If it's a Chromebook, it has its whole suite from
But
Google
Google's
Sheets, Google
wanting to
Docs. What?
Have us pay them.
Oh, you have to
Yeah.
see, I don't pay anything, I guess. I don't know. I just get Spectrum.
So are we talking about giving these to people to take home, or are we talking about having them here to use?
Yeah, I was
for
figuring
meetings?
they'd be here
Here.
and we just plug them in at the time,
Which would make
That's another thing.
available to use otherwise
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah. But, as I say, there's not a lot you can do with them. But they're certainly good for this kind of thing.
Okay. And I will ask you, each of you prefer one from the library? Do you have your own that you would rather use?
Prefer not to use my own.
Okay,
I would prefer to use the libraries here.
okay. And mine doesn't leave the
Yeah,
house.
we could have about 5 of these available and.
Okay.
Wait a minute, look at this. These just 3.
And you have extra. Okay, so if you. Are you,
Plus, I noticed, that, when I used it at the meeting, it's still easier to navigate through than that pile of paper.
well,
The only drawback is, let's see, how do you write notes? You'd have to write.
And if you,
I can't do.
you could, it would stay on the laptop, but it stays here, so you wouldn't be able to take the notes with you. So you'd have to, print out a page. Oh, I want to take notes on this.
Well, we could, we sometimes used to do at Upper Hudson is we don't do that anymore either, but the agenda would be typed out. Printed out, so we could write on that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
I think
Right.
Or we'll all get one piece of paper,
Yeah,
right real small.
It's 7
I write
feet,
all
that's it. That's all we got.
Okay,
So
so,
Yes.
wouldn't we need 6 then? Because Brianna's the only one who said that she will use hers.
What about Carolyn?
Yeah, Kristen was gonna use his.
no, he said he
Oh,
does not want to use his.
Nothing.
No,
The
Okay.
question is
I
Carolyn.
prefer to use the library.
So you have 1, 2, 3 people here. I don't think that Keith has one, so that's 4. And it's up to Carolyn. So
Very.
and Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry uses her phone. I don't know if she'd bring one.
No, she always used that phone.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Jerry would want it on paper.
6.
Get 6. You'll have
at
it.
least.
Okay,
At
get 6. It can't, well, at $129 plus tax or whatever and shipping.
No,
We
don't have to pay tax.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Right, no tag. What do
No
we
tax,
do?
shipping,
We could use some.
and it
the
can always be
Breslin-
used,
the
especially,
Breslin money.
there's always someone here that can use the laptop.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything new on the retirement system? Have you heard anything?
Yes, yes and no. They think they can get back to us in 2 weeks. They had to send out our list to the auditors or something. Who's the insurance guys that figure out when you're gonna die?
Actuaries.
Actuaries, yeah. They have actuaries. and
Yes,
they
that's what I was
send
gonna say,
it To them.
the actuaries.
I was actuaries, right? Right. So yeah, we should hear back in a couple of weeks,
Okay, great.
hopefully.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brianna?
I have reached my hard stop time.
Okay.
I'm noticing that if I depart, we no longer have a quorum, so I'm wondering if there's anything else that needs to be voted on.
Yeah, I don't think so, except to adjourn. But, I'm trying to think.
Vote to adjourn in advance.
Still
Okay.
be here next.
All right, so you all got things on the holiday party, you got all things on, the basket, got all things on the market block book sale coming up.
Yeah, coming up.
So, anything else, any other new business, any other,
I don't mean to rush.
oh, no, thank you for,
Okay.
I stopped looking. And you had been very clear about the 7 o'clock. So, is there anything else? Okay, then I'll make a motion to adjourn. I see a second. All in favor?
Hi.
Okay.
One Dutch people of, work on the library.
Well, and again, I will say, thank you for being here, but that gave us another 15 minutes.